24/7, you're listening to Footscray Live.
Hi everyone, my name is Marley Hawk and with me today we have Senior Constable Matt Harris. We're broadcasting live from Footscray City College. You're listening to Footscray Live. Joining me today to interview our guest is Archie, David, Taylor and Miles. This is the Community Show. Hi Matt, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, thanks for having me.
What do you do in the police force?
What my current role is I work in the proactive police unit.
Okay.
What that means is I don't work the front line, the divisional van or anything like that. I go around and do school presentations, which I've been here actually 3 times. I do different presentations. I cover a range of subjects like cyber safety and general safety and road safety. Other things we do are community events. So on the weekend I worked the Christmas around the lake. Okay. Over at Point Cook. So it's a proactive role. We try and get out and about and try and see the public before something happens. That's part of my role.
David here. Is it hard being a police officer?
Is it hard? Well, it's very challenging, to say the least. Whether it's home challenges with raising kids and being a single dad or a single mum for some of them out there, or just being in a relationship can be quite hard. The hours, the paperwork, the type of work that we do, the community perception, it can be a very hard job, yeah.
Have you ever had to use your gun?
I've ever had to use my gun. I get asked that. That's the number one question I get asked at every school. In my 11-year career, no, I've never had to draw or use my firearm outside of firearms training, which I actually have next week. So I've never had to do that, no.
Now that you've mentioned that you've been doing this for 11 years, what would you say got you started in this field?
Why I became a police officer?
Yeah.
I wasn't smart enough to be a teacher, first and foremost. Police officer was my next choice. I wanted something different. You know, I worked at Coles for 7 years when I was 15 and I wanted to try something that just challenged me every day. And there's no job like this in the whole of Victoria. Nothing is the same. Every day is different. You know, the holidays are fantastic. The pay's pretty good, so that's why I got into it.
Archie here. What gender and age group commits the most crime?
Gender and age group. If I would have known you wanted statistics, I would have gone and spoke to the experts. Look, in my experience, I have to say it would be out here anyway in the western suburbs. It's male youth in between the ages of 16 to 24.
So, is media accurately portraying what you do on a daily basis, or
no? Nothing like it at all. What people see on social media, on the news, is nothing for what we do. Everyone wants to see 1 second of a 20-minute incident, and they'll pick apart that 1 second instead of looking at the big picture to what actually happened or what conspired to that event. So no, the media doesn't portray anything that we do.
Now that they're talking about, sort of how the media portrays policemen, I feel like there sort of is that stigma around, the police force. And do people react in a certain way, after you tell them you work for the police, or?
Yeah, most people have just got questions about it. I still get a lot of positive reception, but I guess there are still those people that no matter what happens are still going to have that negative opinion of the police. But it's always interesting. People seem to always say, anytime you tell someone you're in the police force, they always have the joke, oh, they're in trouble, not me, or you can arrest them. That's always the running joke with people.
What's the scariest incident you've been in as a police officer?
The scariest incident? There's 11 years of those to go through, but look, last year in January, I had to assist when I was working at the Highway Patrol, I had to assist the front line divisional van arresting a male who was 6'4" and about 6'4" wide, high on ice and on steroids, and incredibly aggressive. And all of our options, our spraying, that wasn't working, and we had to go hands on and end up getting physically hurt. I got hurt, and my friend got hurt, and eventually we ended up arresting him. But it was a very, very stressful situation. That was. It was a long 5 minutes until we got back up. That's for sure.
What's the age limit to sit in the front seat?
Of a police car, or just a car in general?
Just a car in general.
Vic roads have the actual exact description, but it's normally 8 or until the child is too big. And I don't know the actual I think it's 140 centimetres, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's usually 8.
Now, you mentioned that you've been, again, doing this job for 11 years. Would you say that you enjoy this job?
Oh, look, just like any job, it's got its highs and its lows, and I've definitely had my fair share of lows. But at the moment, I'm loving what I do. I've done 8 years of highway patrol work, and I thoroughly enjoyed, the majority of that. But it's always got ups and downs. But at the moment, doing this role, going out and about, talking to students in particular, that's my passion, and I love it at the moment.
What's the best excuse you've heard someone say?
I have diarrhea.
What are the challenges of policing diverse communities, and how do you ensure diverse representation on the police force?
Well, the police force has been recruiting now since I joined, really pushing for that diversity, looking for people from different backgrounds and different religions, people who speak other languages. Obviously, women's a big push. They're trying to get as many females as they can in there. So I don't think Victoria Police can do anything more to be diverse. In relation to the first part of the question, when it's dealing with people, dealing with minority groups or people from different backgrounds, different religions, it can be quite difficult. But we still have a job to do. So we'll do our best to be culturally sensitive to people. If there's something that someone needs, we'll do our best to help. But sometimes we just don't have a female member who can deal with someone who wants to be dealt with by a female member, and we just have to deal with it the best we can. But we always try our best.
Now, this is kind of a dark topic, but is police brutality these days common or very rare?
In my 11 years career, people's perception of police brutality is quite skewed. They think that if police are arresting someone, that's police brutality. We have a job to do. It's as simple as that. And if someone's going to hurt me, that's not on. So I need to do what's necessary to make sure I go home safe to my kids. So I just think some people are a bit soft when it comes to that type of thing, and abide by the rules, listen to the commands of the police, and they won't. Look, there's always that one issue that arises, and that happens, but everything's recorded these days, and the police are well aware of that. We're not going to do anything that's going to get us in trouble. There's so many cameras around. So I think the public's got a real misconception of what police brutality is.
What's the most common crime?
The most common crime, once again, I'm not the stats man, I'll have to say it would be theft.
Okay.
Shop theft.
So the media is saying that video games are causing violence. Do you think that's true?
As an avid video game player myself, I disagree, but look, people will find stats and proof of things. Look, I grew up playing multiple different video games, violent, non-violent, and I don't commit crime or have any tendencies to do that. But when I grew up, I was monitored with how much I played, and I made sure I'd done my homework, and I went to work, and I played sport. I think there is a bit of a concern when you have young people in particular playing violent video games and are not being monitored by their parents, and they're just being left to do this as long as, and that's where the problems arise, in my opinion. So there needs to be a bit more parenting these days than probably it used to be.
Now that you mentioned you enjoy video games and you have kids, would you say that your police work has affected your personal life, or it's influenced it at least?
Oh, it has. Being a policeman, it's very difficult. Policewoman or anyone in the police force, that the hours are so hard on the family. I'm divorced from my ex-wife, and there's a lot of struggles. There with us and with the rostering and the times, and when you've got young family, it's very, very difficult. So it has changed, but to my boss's credit, he looks after me as a single dad of 2 kids and one with special needs, so I get looked after a little bit. But look, it's very hard. Yeah.
So about the video games, did you have a favourite one growing up, like Doom?
Like Doom? No, I like the role-playing games. I was more into World of Warcraft growing up, and Warcraft 3.
How long do you spend being a police officer?
So our days are 8-hour shifts. I do a flexible roster, so I've got a mixture of 10s and 8s. So today's roster is 10-hour shift for me. I'm lucky enough that I don't do overtime, but a lot of the frontline members, they would spend 8 hours working, then probably 2 to 3 hours on average of unpaid overtime every day.
Now that you're mentioning your hours, you also again do schoolwork. So how would you say? What's your opinion on that? Do you enjoy going to schools?
As in doing the presentations. I love doing school presentations. It's a passion of mine. I think that's one spot Victoria Police hasn't been very good with, and that is educating young people on a variety of issues. I had it when I was growing up. We had the Police in Schools program, and it sort of disappeared for a long time, and I'm trying to reinvent it again because it's just got so many benefits to having young guys, talking to us. And, example was that I've been at the Werribee Plaza recently, and I was recognised by members of certain schools, and they'll just come up and they're talking to me, and they're all really nice. And that's the type of relationship we're trying to build between police and young students. So I love the school presentations. I love it.
You're listening to the community show on Footscray Live. We're here with Senior Constable Matt Harris on the community show on Footscray Live.
What's the most paperwork that you've had to fill in?
There's plenty of jobs that require. We've got like remand applications where we've picked someone up for a particular crime, and we're looking to remand them into prison or jail for an extended period. So that's got quite a lot of paperwork involved. Probably that and a search warrant for drugs. I had to fill in a lot of paperwork for that and organise a canine unit to come out, and that had a lot of paperwork involved.
So, when you were doing your first presentation, did you feel nervous or shy?
No, I've got the type of personality that I can get out and talk to people. I'm not shy in front of large groups. Some of the schools I do presentations in front of 500. I've done a presentation at VU in front of 1,000. Doesn't bother me. I can talk the leg off a chair. So, no, I don't get too embarrassed. I've been on that Horror Patrol TV show, so...
Oh, really?
No, it's all good.
What does your kids think about you being a police officer?
Well, my 6-year-old's got autism and doesn't quite understand, and my 3-year-old isn't quite up to the age yet to really get it. So another couple of years, ask me that question again and I'll let you know.
Just before you were talking about how you go to schools and talk and, you really do influence so many young people and impact their lives. Was there ever a situation where you really did see any change or something that happened that really good that came out of one of those talks?
Oh, look, I get constant feedback from schools that, they might have had an issue creeping into the school in relation to sexting or cyberbullying or something like that, and I'll go and do a presentation. And after every presentation, I always hang around during recess and lunch and, give the kids a chance to talk to me and just ask silly questions or whatever questions they've got. And I get a lot of feedback from schools saying that the incidents they're having or the problems they're having were now on the decrease or have disappeared entirely. So it's a huge benefit to both the schools and to us as well to lower crime.
What question do you get asked most at schools apart from do you use your gun?
The next one's usually what video games I play, because I always tell them I play video games. That's usually the second one.
Both the ones that I said.
That's right.
Taylor, you can go.
Well, I was just going to ask, you always mention video games. Do you ever think now we're in in today's society, we're surrounded by technology and, it's not just video games, but also social media, which, there's shown, sure, there can be positive effects, but there's also a lot of negative effects. And do you reckon just technology in general has, affected us? Because I did recently see a study that apparently technology has made the youth, like you mentioned, the youth being, one of the most sort of threatening age groups. Do you think that technology has decreased that or increased that?
I think it's increased it because... when I grew up, you were forced to talk to people face to face. You were forced to make conversation and make friends, I guess, the old-fashioned way. And I think technology's made it so people can hide behind a keyboard. There's a lot of sort of trolling and inappropriate things said online that people wouldn't say to someone in their face. And that's probably one of the biggest ones is that just negative culture that we have here.
Yeah, and I think I just want to add on to that. Something I've noticed at least, I feel like there's almost been a glamorization of crime, because again, like you said, anybody can hide under, a mask online. What's your opinion on that? Do you think it is true that, crime has been glamorized on the internet?
100%. We've got these celebrities out in Hollywood and they're living this glamorous life and they're showing off all the stuff they have and, And I think just with the pressures of today, and I think a lot of youth feel like that, for them to belong, that they need to have these type of things and have these luxuries. And I think, all those apps and that, the social media apps, that a lot of young people see that and think, oh, I've got to do that. And they get into crime and they want to show off. And it's like this boasting, I want to be bigger than the next kid. And they're always trying to one-up each other. So it's a definite problem.
Yeah.
When a police car drives past you with the sirens on, and then you're 2 minutes away and we're still driving behind you, why can't we hear that anymore?
So with relation to the sirens and that, the sirens, usually you can only hear them about 100 metres away if you travel about 80 k's an hour. But some of the times people think, oh, police just trying to rush to get their breakfast or whatever, which isn't true. Sometimes there's a job where someone, for an example, might have broken into someone's home, and we're trying to get there as fast as we can. But we also don't really want to alert the person that we're coming, because we want to catch them there. We don't want them hearing the sirens from a long distance away and then escaping before we get there. So sometimes police will put on the lights and sirens, drive a bit aggressively, go through a red light, whatever they may do in a safe manner. And then you might see they might turn it off. And that is mainly to not try and spook someone. That's why they do that.
Now that you're mentioning sort of these high, tension situations, would you ever say that your job, because, as a police officer, obviously in these crimes, you do have to stay pretty calm. But, do you ever sort of get stressed on the inside or very anxious?
Me personally, no. That just comes with experience. And being a Melbourne Demons supporter, you just have to learn how to relax. But look, it's just the key that we try and teach a lot of young members is just to breathe. Take a deep breath and open your vision. Don't get tunnel vision and just relax. And it's going to be stressful and that. But if you let it get to you, then it makes it a lot harder for you to work and that. So for me personally, no, I don't get stressed or anything like that.
Mm.
Say you catch somebody driving over the limit, would you give them the benefit of the doubt and say
Well, after a long time in the highway patrol, who are very well known to book everyone, it's as simple as look, people know they're doing the wrong thing. Okay, if I'm not gonna book someone, I'm not gonna pull them over. They might get a flash of the headlights to say slow down. Or if I'm pulling them over, they're going to be getting a ticket. All right, we use scientific engineered devices to detect someone's speed. Those are very accurate. All right, and if that laser device says to me that they're doing 20 over, I'm always going to estimate how much they're over as well. They're going to be getting a ticket for that. There's no real excuse.
Yeah, so when you're just walking around or driving, do you see people get nervous when you're around them?
Of course they do. People see the red and blue lights and they immediately sharpen up their behaviour, and that's a good thing though. Every time someone sees a police car, if you ask mum or dad, if they see a police car, the first thing they do is they slow down, and that's why we need more police on the road. We need more people to see us around because everyone's first instinct is to do the right thing. So that's a good thing that people are like that.
Yeah.
Do people ever react the same on the streets? If you're walking down in your uniform, do people react the same? When you're not walking, down in the street in your uniform.
The people who know me personally, no, they treat me the exact same. They know I'm a copper, but they know I'm a dad. They know I'm a brother. They know, I'm a guy who just does a job, and they respect that. So no, they treat me the same.
Also, to just continue on that note, to continue on that note, sorry, would you say, your job has sort of affected, when, again, just to add on to what I was saying before, when you're walking down the street and, you're in your uniform, do people react the same? Do they ever sharpen up their behaviour? Just random people, not people you necessarily know, but just anyone else in public?
Or when you're in the uniform, you hear a lot of things. People sort of, like I said earlier, they joke about, this is the one you're after and things like that. The most common one I hear, which I actually don't like, is a lot of parents will say to their young child, now, if you're naughty, the policeman will take you away. And it's a big bug of mine. I don't like that. It's not true. We're trying to teach parents that we're actually here to help. We don't want children to be scared of the police. We're not here to be scared of. People need to come to us when they need help, and that's probably the main one we get in relation to that.
And I think, that sort of stigma around the police and, sort of those negative thoughts around the police, I think a lot of those start at a young age. Like you mentioned, parents are, teaching kids that, this the policeman, it's like not necessarily a good thing. And I think, you're definitely right. It should be here, to let people know that here to protect you, not necessarily scare you away.
That's right. We want people to be a little bit scared when they're driving. We want them to sharpen up when they're driving and things like that. But when it comes to us, we want people to see us as we're there to help. That's what we're here for. We're not going to punish a kid for, being late getting home or running away. They need to come to us and say, look, I need your help. And if someone has done the wrong thing, we want them to come to us and say, look, I've actually stuffed up and done the wrong thing. And we're going to help them too. We're not here to just arrest everyone and charge everyone. We're here to help. That's our job.
Yeah, and now that you mention that, do people ever feel scared to call the police? Like, have you noticed that, or like people are like scared to talk to the police? Because I feel like it is almost a very nerve-wracking situation, or someone thinks maybe this isn't important enough. Like, have you ever sort of felt that from anyone?
Of course. It's a big problem with family violence, unfortunately. We're trying to empower, in particular, our females, our women, to call us, to come to us for help. And it is a bit of a problem where people don't want to call us. They're either nervous or they're scared of the repercussions of what may follow. But we are here to help, and we need people to come to us and say, look, I need your help for whatever it may be. So that is one thing we're trying to break.
Yeah, and I think that, that one conversation with the police could really change your life. How do you feel like is that like sort of a big weight on your shoulders, knowing that, what your job does, can impact someone's life, can influence them?
If you let it become a big weight, then it become a problem. I think you just need to, as police, just take each incident as it comes.
Yeah.
And that's what we signed up for. So, that's what we're here for. When I done road policing with the Highway Patrol, the reason why we give an infringement notice is to change someone's behaviour, so then hopefully they don't become a stat of the road trauma, whether it's a fatality or a serious injury. So it's the same for everything. Family violence, we want people to come forward. We don't want them becoming a stat, just a number. So that's what we need.
What is the most rewarding thing about being on the police force?
The most rewarding thing, currently my role, doing police presentations and getting the thank yous from the students in the school, and that to me is the most rewarding. But there's a whole heap from having a small store, like a small shop, a small business, yep, and they've been involved, victim of a theft, and getting their stuff back to them, being thanked for that. It's so rewarding doing that type of stuff. And probably the most rewarding job was locating a young boy, a young autistic boy who escaped from home and was running around the streets, and be able to find him and take him back to his parents was probably the most rewarding job that I've done.
Is there a lot of responsibility being a police officer?
A lot is an understatement. Yes, every millisecond of our existence is scrutinised for days on end. Whether it's a police shooting or a high-speed pursuit or just doing a school presentation, everything has to be justified. And even at the coroner's court at the moment, there's a big investigation going on there, and it's yeah.
Just to everyone who's just tuned in, you're listening to Footscray Live, and we're here with Senior Constable Matt Harris.
Do you still have to buy a normal car because you've got that police car?
Well, it's not my police car. It actually sits at the station. Yes, I've got my own little Hyundai at home. All police still have to get their own personal vehicles. We don't have work cars. Sometimes some special units take the car home for a work purpose, but no one has a car that they just drive around for personal use anymore.
Earlier we sort of discussed about how social media has sort of been glamorizing, crime and such. And would you say it's almost done the opposite, where social media has sort of glamorized, like you were mentioning before, how people are sort of scared to call the police, they don't want to talk about it. Do you reckon, sort of social media, or like just like, I know people like my age, it's like that sort of seems like cowardly, or, don't talk to the police, like, you're stronger than them. I don't know. Would you ever...
The only thing I can see is that with some young people, they just have the lack of respect for the uniform. They don't understand the sacrifices the police make in their personal life to become a police officer, and they don't understand what it means to wear the uniform. I would love for some of those people to, go and work the divisional van for a day and see how they cope. People forget how hard our job is, and the stuff that we see on a daily basis, all the gruesome and the horrible things that we see, that we deal with every day, and the rest of the public are shielded from that, but we're the ones who have to deal with it, and people forget that.
I started to follow Victoria Police on Facebook, and I've noticed heaps of people go missing. Do you know why?
No, I've got no idea why. Look, some young people are just heading out there causing trouble, or some have got issues at home and whatnot. In relation to why, I've got no idea why we have missing people.
So, are there films portraying police accurately or not at all?
Are you talking about movies?
Yeah.
No. So one of the main things I get asked when it comes to, why don't police shoot people in the leg, or why don't police shoot the gun out of their hand and things like that, because it's all not true. It doesn't work. It never has. There's been proof of that. So what you see on the movies and TV shows, it's just rubbish. It's not true. If you want to see one that is true for Victoria, it's called Highway Patrol. That is actually Victorian Highway Patrol members. I've been on the TV once with an episode, and I've got many friends who've been on there many times for that.
Now I was actually going to mention about shows like Highway Patrol that do show the police in real situations, and like you said, you've been on it. Would you say that is that 100% real? Everything you do, is anything staged at all? No,
nothing's staged on the Highway Patrol show. What they do is they come out, and you've got a car, and they've got their own car, and they set up the cameras, and they just follow you around, and you just drive around, and whatever happens in front of you is what they record. So none of it is scripted, and that show is based in Victoria, obviously. It is only showing a small portion of Victoria Police. It's only showing the road trauma, the road policing. It doesn't show the hard work that the detectives do and on all those type of guys, but it is at least from Victoria. So it is a true representation of what happens on the road.
If you could change any law, what would it be?
If I could change any law?
Yeah, or remove one or add one.
Remove one or add one. I'd like to see a curfew for young people. I would love to see a curfew for young people. Midnight, they've got to all be home under the age of 21.
What do you think the most dangerous neighbourhood is?
What do I think is the most dangerous neighbourhood? Doesn't matter which. The answer is all of them, and none of them. Look, every neighbourhood has got issues, whether it's the nice suburb of Williamstown down to the rougher suburbs of Werribee. I live in Tarneet personally, and there are pockets of Tarneet I wouldn't want to live in, and then where I live is fine. So, you've got criminals live here, there, and everywhere. And it doesn't matter how nice the place is, there's always that one person who brings down the rest of the area. So they're all the same.
So, do you encourage people standing up to those who are stealing? In videos online like YouTube, you have people tackling criminals to stop them or temporarily send them till the police comes.
Yeah, look, we don't advise it purely because you don't know what the other person's got. We understand human nature and what people are like, and some people, want to stand up for others, and that's great. But you just got to be careful. Just because someone's stealing a bottle of grog, a bottle of beer, it's just beer in the end. What's the worst thing if it gets stolen? And if you tackle them and wrestle them and that, who's to say they don't have a knife or a gun on them? And we don't want people getting hurt. Property can always be replaced, but people and body parts cannot. So we would rather people stay safe.
Now that you're mentioning people who aren't necessarily police sort of chasing down these criminals, has that ever happened in your real life? If you're not on duty and you've seen sort of a crime happen in real life, has it ever happened to you?
Yes, it has. I've been involved arresting someone for theft until the police have arrived, or things like that. I've seen, brawls at the shopping centre, and as a police officer, I obviously step in and help out where I can. So it's happened a few times.
Finally, what advice would you give to some young people who like to become policemen?
Advice is to stay in school, number one.
Yeah.
Finish VCE or VCAL.
Yeah.
Get a job, go travel, see the world, experience the world, experience life. And then, when they get to their 20s, start looking to apply. That's what I did. I went and got a job and travelled a little bit and got a bit of life experience. So it's good to finish school.
Well, that brings our show to an end. Thank you for joining us, Senior Constable Matt Harris. My name is Marley Hawke, and I'd like to thank my panel, Archie, David, Taylor, and Miles. This has been the Community Show on Footscray Live.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
You're listening to Footscray Live.